In tonight's news edition, Saudi Arabia launches more airstrikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels, targeting the defense ministry in the capital, Sana'a. Iraqi forces make new advances in their offensive to dislodge Daesh militants in Anbar province. And here at home, the health minister says the H1N1 flu is a seasonal flu and there's no reason to panic. Good evening and very warm welcome to the news. We begin with the latest developments in Yemen. The Saudi-led coalition launched fresh airstrikes against targets of Houthi rebels across Yemen. Saudi Arabia's military showed fresh cockpit video of airstrikes at a briefing. The targets were listed as a military camp, a communication site and a tank, all of which were seen destroyed. The briefing came after further waves of strikes overnight and today, hitting targets across the country's provinces, including the defense ministry in the capital, Sana'a. The anti-Houthi coalition has waged 2 weeks of the airstrikes after they pushed south towards Aden, the stronghold of President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi. The air campaign has failed to stop the Shiite Houthis and soldiers loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh entering central Aden. But the coalition says it has cut Houthi supply lines, destroyed many of their weapons and pushed them back in some southern provinces around Aden. In eastern Yemen, Houthi fighters entered the city of Ataq, the provincial capital of Shabwa province, took control of local government buildings and security forces compounds. And as the war raged in Yemen, the United Nations warned of a humanitarian crisis in the country. The UN urged all parties to find peaceful resolution to the conflict and to make effort to protect the civilians and also to respect the international law. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric told a news briefing at UN headquarters in New York that the key task is to rescue the civilians from the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. UNICEF also said it expects an upsurge in malnutrition across Yemen in the coming weeks.
In the coming weeks, there to be an upsurge in malnutrition across the country, be it in areas of conflict or not, because it was already a country where 60% of the population lived under the poverty line. That's not going to get any better. People's revenues are going down, cost of living is going up, and government services weakened, if not falling apart.
Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi toured Iraqi army units in Anbar province as security forces launched a new offensive against Daesh militants there. Fighting began in the western province's desert terrain yesterday, with Iraqi forces seeking to build on a victory over the militant group last week in the city of Tikrit. Army officers said Daesh militants were driven back in the Sijariya area east of the key cities of Ramadi and Fallujah in Anbar, where the terror group has been dominant. Iraqi security forces and Shiite paramilitaries have recently regained some ground, although core Sunni territories remain under Daesh control. Shiite militia have played a leading role in reversing the militants' advances. Abadi promised autonomy for Anbar leaders if Daesh was defeated in the province.
Soon, we will be able very shortly to go around all the villages, cities and districts of Deir Anbar without guards after we bring terrorism and Daesh to an end. You will be the ones who will run these cities and you will be the ones who will live in these districts. You will run your own affairs and the federal government will support you and the security and armed forces will support you and will make sacrifices for you.
Iraqi Foreign Minister Ibrahim al-Jafra, meanwhile, called for creation of a wide coalition to fight Daesh. Speaking during a visit to Belarus, where he held talks with his Belarusian counterpart, Vladimir Makey, Jafari said those fighting with Daesh came from 62 countries across the world. He told the news conference that the common threat the world is facing makes it necessary for world nations to unite and join in efforts to fight this common danger. The Iraqi foreign minister called the offensive against Daesh fighters successful, adding that the Iraqi forces are advancing and liberating many cities. Jafari's visit to Minsk comes a year after Belarus accredited its ambassador to Baghdad. A Palestinian official said he supported a Syrian army offensive to regain control of the Yarmouk refugee camp on the outskirts of Damascus that has fallen into the hands of Daesh militants. The radical group, which rules swathes of Syria and Iraq, seized almost all of Yarmouk in recent days, brushing aside local militia opposed to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The United Nations has said it's extremely concerned about the safety and protection of Syrians and Palestinians in the camp. Syrian Air Force jets have been waging a bombing campaign on militant hideouts in the camp almost daily since Daesh fighters took over. Ahmed Majdalani, a minister in the Palestinian Authority, was sent to Damascus by the PLO leadership to discuss the crisis with the government. Majdalani said that the Syrian army, alongside local Palestinian groups, had made some success in pushing back the militants and had so far secured 35% of the camp.
We are working cooperatively, and yesterday there was a meeting between Palestinian national factions, and we agreed to have this as an open meeting, as a political leadership that is on the ground in Syria. We agreed to maintain coordination with the Syrian leadership. We also agreed to set up a joint operations room between Syrian forces and Palestinian factions that have a noticeable military existence inside or around the camp in order to continue this clean military operation.
Canadian armed forces conducted their first airstrike in Syria since the government expanded the scope of its military mission against Daesh last month. Meantime, Syrian government and opposition delegates meeting in Moscow agreed on the principle of a political solution based on the Geneva I document. Members of the Syrian opposition and government representatives agreed on a 6-point plan proposed by Vitaly Nomkin, the Russian moderator, to deal with the conflict. Media sources said they had agreed to the following principles: a political solution based on the Geneva I document, an immediate end to military operations, solving all humanitarian disasters, fighting terror, a democratic political transition, and the release of detainees. Sudan freed 2 opposition figures in what is seen as a conciliatory gesture ahead of elections that nearly all significant opposition parties are boycotting. Sudanese will vote for a new parliament and president on April the 13th to the 15th, though the opposition says it will shun the polls. The opposition cited deteriorating freedoms and a lack of progress towards national reconciliation. The 2 opposition figures were arrested in December after signing a unity agreement with the rebel group. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said Tehran will not sign any nuclear deal unless all sanctions are lifted. He said during Iran's annual National Day of Nuclear Technology celebrations that the world had understood that Iran will never surrender to sanction pressures over what he calls its nuclear rights and scientific developments. Rouhani announced the country's nuclear technology achievement, including 3 radiopharmaceuticals and the country's first virtual nuclear fuel facility. He said that Natanz facility will continue uranium enrichment activities and that Fordo nuclear plant will keep 1,000 centrifuges. Arak heavy water reactor will be used to produce drugs for medical purpose, he said, adding that Iran will continue the research and development on centrifuge according to its goals and scientific research capacity. Here at home, the Health Ministry insisted that the H1N1 disease is a seasonal flu and there's no need to declare an emergency, although 6 flu-related deaths have been reported in the kingdom this year. Minister of Health Ali Hiyasat said the number of H1N1 infections recorded this year was similar to that in the same period last year. He assured the public, saying, and I quote, "There's no need for panic as health authorities are well prepared to deal with new cases." The minister stressed on the quality of preventive and treatment procedures the Ministry of Health takes in dealing with the H1N1 flu. Hiyasat said the H1N1 flu is just like any seasonal flu, and in either case, those who are considered risk groups should take the flu vaccine and immediately see a doctor if they exhibit any symptoms. The minister called on the public to shun such habits as kissing at social occasions and smoking the nargila or hookah, which are considered major infection factors. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour led the opening ceremony of the charitable Irbid Medical Center, affiliated to the Arabian Medical Relief Society in Jordan. The center, based in the Irbid Chamber of Commerce, will provide free medical and therapeutic services and medicines for citizens, refugees and residents who could not afford them. President of the society, Aouni al-Bashir, said that the new facility will provide services to all underprivileged segments, praising the government's interest in volunteer work. Chairman of the Irbid Chamber of Commerce, Muhammad Al-Shuha, said that when hosting the center, the chamber took upon itself its social and humanitarian responsibilities, along with its other responsibilities in serving its members and the national economy. At the end of the ceremony, the Prime Minister honored figures and agencies supporting the Arabian Medical Relief Society. A gunman has been arrested after he shot dead 3 people at a palace or the Palace of Justice in the Italian city of Milan. The suspect, Claudio Giardiolo, was reportedly a defendant in a bankruptcy case. He was arrested in a Milan suburb after fleeing the scene on a motorbike. Questions are being asked about how the suspect managed to smuggle a weapon into a well-guarded building, use it several times and escape. This report has more.
Chaos outside a courthouse in central Milan, where a man on trial for bankruptcy reportedly opened fire inside the building, killing 3 people, a judge, a lawyer and a co-defendant. Police say a 4th person was also found dead inside the building, but showed no apparent sign of injury. Police later arrested the suspect in a town north of Italy's financial center. He's been named as Claudio Giardiolo and was being held at a military police barracks. It's alleged he shot the judge in his office and then the lawyer and co-defendant in the courtroom.
Some people started running here and there, saying there was a man with a gun shooting. I was on the 1st floor and we all sought shelter in the office of a judge. We waited. Then police came and let out women first, escorting us to the exit.
Security measures had already been tightened across Italy after January's deadly Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris. Police are trying to establish just how the suspect was able to carry a gun into the court buildings and through metal detectors.
Over to Japan. In a bid to reduce pollution in the densely populated city of Tokyo, Japanese giant Toyota Motors Corporation is set to rent out its I-Road electric 3-wheelers. Drivers can pick up 1 of 5 cars at one location, but can drop it off at 5 other locations in the city. This service is a partnership between Toyota and Park24, which operates parking lots all across Japan. Select locations will have I-Road charging stations. The 3-wheeler is 2.3 meters long and 87 centimeters wide, with a top speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Defending champion Mick Fanning of Australia won the Rip Curl Pro Belts Beach Turfing Tournament. He beat the 2013 winner, Adriano de Souza of Brazil, in a Marathon des Sables leader Rashid Al Murabati of Morocco kept up his winning pace on stage 4, covering 91.7 kilometers in 8 hours, 39 minutes and 49 seconds. Moroccan athletes dominated the stage. In 2nd and 3rd places were Murabati's teammates Abdelkader Al-Muaziz and Aziz Al-Muaqqad, 7 minutes, 53 seconds and 10 minutes, 46 seconds respectively behind him. In the women's category, Elisabeth Barnes of Sweden was 21st over the line on stage 4, leading the women home in a time of 11 hours, 29 minutes and 3 seconds. Now, a look at the weather forecast. It will be chilly tonight across many regions, with clouds building up in the northern regions. Winds will be northwesterly brisk, stirring up dust in the country's south. High temperatures will drop further tomorrow, bringing them down to 5 or 6 degrees below seasonal average. Therefore, it will be relatively cold across much of the hilly areas and fair elsewhere in the country. There will be a chance for light rain in the north, expanding later to the central regions as well. The port of Aqaba should expect fair conditions tomorrow, with northerly brisk winds and choppy seas. The weatherman warns of slippery roads due to rain and poor visibility due to dust, so motorists are advised to take extra caution on the roads. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. And before we close, Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour announced in a statement an official holiday for all Christians in Jordan next Sunday and Monday to celebrate Easter. Happy Easter. Now, to close our top stories once again. Saudi Arabia launches more airstrikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels, targeting the defense ministry in the capital Sana'a. Iraqi forces make new advances in their offensive to dislodge Daesh militants in Anbar province. And here at home, the health minister says the H1N1 flu is a seasonal flu and there's no need to panic. And that's the end of tonight's news. My name is Rad Lubtoush. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.